Ollie and Steven's 2013-14 NBA Preview Show, number 28.
Welcome back to Ollie and Steven's 2013-14 NBA Preview Show, and I am shocked and stunned to find sat here at 28 on Stephen Edwards' power rankings again. I had no say in these. He just dropped these on my doorstep and said, this is what we're doing, love it or leave it. And I was like, okay then, we'll go with it. But at 28, the Boston Celtics come in.
Yeah, a storied franchise that is in a complete tank rebuilding mode. They're just a Rajon Rondo trade away from being down in obscurity with some of the other teams in the conferences that we've already talked about already.
This is a massive season for the rest of the Celtics franchise for so long, in my opinion. If they get it wrong, this is going to put them back so many years. But if they get it right, and they have the hiring of Brad Stevens, which I love, by the way, from Butler, all this Rondo talk is what's going to make this season, Stephen, surely. The talk of him off the court, everyone's going to get it in every press conference. Then it's when he's back. Then he's going to be back. Then he's going to play. Then they're going to have to trade him or keep him. I mean, it's going to be incessant for the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the key storyline that the Celtics are going to have to deal with. It's going to be one of those stories that are going to keep rolling and rolling and rolling until Rondo's actually traded away. Ainge is going to try and get the best possible value he can for Rajon Rondo, and rightly so. I mean, Rondo, I've criticised him before, but he is still one of the top point guards in this league, and it's just a matter of which suitor he finds. He's got to go into a scenario where he's not going to be the guy who's going to have to be relied on to make that jump shot. But if he goes in there as a distributor, then there could be a right scenario for him. And I think the one thing you can always say about Danny Ainge is he seems to get value.
He gets banged for his buck, like I think no one else can in this league at the moment. It's pretty scary when you see what he pulled off with Brooklyn, which almost makes it that he can get a little bit less value in the Rondo deal, as long as he shifts him to tank, if you see what I mean, because they got overvalued by Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, they stole from Brooklyn. I mean, that's for me, that will go down as quite an awful trade when you look at it. I mean, it may look all right in year one, but further down the line, it looks worse and worse.
Okay, as always, we try and capture the collective mindset of each franchise's fan base with one word. Stephen Edwards, the Boston Celtics fans are
passionate.
It's a nice one. I see what you go in there with. I've gone with hopeful, a word you use with the Phoenix Suns, and I know this firsthand as being a Celtics fan if people haven't picked up on that just yet. There is hope around Boston. I think a lot of it comes down to the Brad Stevens hire. I love Doc Rivers, but if you kept him for another year, there'd be the hope and the faith there. But this is a complete new era, which in itself always brings hope, whichever sport, whichever team you're at.
Yeah, any time you bring in a guy like a Brad Stevens, that you have hope that he can develop into a very good NBA coach. I like the hire of Brad Stevens. I think it's a nice one. It's a nice scenario for him to come into because Boston don't have high expectations this season, so he can sit here and find out about his players, and he could find himself at the end of this season picking up a real bona fide all-star that he just dropped into his lap.
Let's check out what my Celtics did last summer then. As you can see by the graphic, they acquired potentially the worst contract in the entire NBA. Jared Wallace, 3 years, $30 million. They pick up Keith Bogans and Chris Humphries in that monstrous trade that saw them lose Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Jason Terry. They let Fab Melo go. Doc Rivers is sent to the Clippers. So they've lost themselves a top 5 coach, a top 5 Celtic, and potentially a top 20 player of all time in KG. It's not been a great off-season when you look at it in that vacuum.
No, but those difficult decisions have to be made, and Danny Ainge was man enough to make that decision. It has been an awful off-season for the Celtics from a fan base point of view, but I think Boston Celtics fans are some of the most knowledgeable fans in the NBA, and they realise the reasons why these have been done, that you just couldn't have tried to tick it along for another year. You had to make the big moves now because of what the draft class means at the end of this season.
I like Kelly Olynyk. I really like him. Everyone was raving about him as a Celtics fan in the Summer League. I've watched a bit more in pre-season in terms of some of the stuff he's done. I really like Kelly Olynyk. He can shoot from the outside as a big man. He draws people away from the basket.
Yeah, he can knock down a jump shot, and it's just as well because Chris Humphries offers nothing at all in that particular starting lineup. I think Jeff Green's okay, and I think that's where the Celtics are going to get some joy. Is they're going to, from the outside shooting, they're going to have they're going to win a few games from doing that, and Olenek will definitely help that in so much as that he'll give them that outside presence. But it's just be interesting to see how other teams react to that. And decide whether or not they're going to try and bring Olenek a bit closer back to the basket, or but from when they defend him, is give him that outside shot and see if he can knock it down on a consistent basis.
I think that Humphries expiring is a valuable commodity to have, because it's such a big expiring contract. Some teams would maybe be inclined to take that on if they're looking to go and get Rondo. That might be one that they package in there if they can get Gerald Wallace in it as well.
Yeah, I think that the Chris Humphries deal is a nice deal to have. I don't exactly know what that could potentially bring back. It's got to be sent with somebody else. I don't think you're going to be lucky enough to package Humphries and Wallace up in the same deal. To be completely honest with you, I think that's where you're being a little bit optimistic there, Ollie. To be fair, I think
he's the only tradable commodity we have.
Yeah,
we have to set them all in with Rondo.
I think it's going to be an interesting one. So if you gave up Rondo, Wallace or Humphries, I still think that's a bit of a tough sell in some respects, but I think you're going to maybe get rid of one of those contracts, but I think you're going to be incredibly lucky to get rid of both. I think the Wallace contract is untradeable at the moment.
The Celtics rotation then, let's check this out, Stephen. I quite like the starting five. I have no idea why you've got these guys, this bunch of guys down here at 5. Now down here at 28, sorry. Now this group of 5 guys is all predicated on Rondo being on the floor, which he isn't at the moment. Mm-hmm. So is that why they've fallen to 28? Yeah,
I think they've fallen to 28 because Rondo is not going to be around to start off with. How much time he's actually going to spend on the court is doubtful at the minute, because it could be a scenario where he literally comes back and then is traded virtually straight away. So my judgment has been clouded by that, because I don't think Rondo's going to play that much for the Celtics this season. If you looked at it on paper and thought to yourself, right, okay, I've got Rondo, I've got Bradley, and I've got Green and Olenek as well, and I think your bench isn't that bad. I mean, Marshall Brooks had a few nice games for the Nets when he was over there. I think Brandon Bass is okay. He'll spot Humphries probably as quickly as possible at times. And Courtney Lee wasn't too bad when he was over with the Knicks, and Gerald Wallace can contribute, but I just wonder with this particular team where, one, if you get rid of Rondo, then where's the passing going to come from? And I think some of these outside shooters are going to be guarded quite closely, because there's nobody to break down the defense and draw players away from them.
Yeah, you missed Jared Sullinger up there. I like Jared Sullinger. I think he can contribute off the bench with rebounds. Not a double-double guy, but maybe in the future at some point. I have this weird, I always have a post-Kardashian feeling. Miles Austin and those guys. I feel like Chris Humphries is due for a bounce back. Now, if he's basically told, you are the starting power forward, and at times we're going to take Olenek out because it's his rookie year, we maybe move you to the 5 and we bring in Sullinger, and he knows that, he could be down for a double-double, night in, night out.
I can't see it. I'm sorry. I think Chris Humphries is at times a train wreck out there. I don't rate the guy at all. And I think he's one of these guys, unfortunately, he's more known for what's happened off the court than what he physically brings on the court. And I think sometimes he believes he's better than he is.
It's time to give the people what they want. We know what they're all calling for. They want him dragged away from Obi-Wan and from Yoda. Jedi Ollie. Let's wheel him out now. Let's bring him into the studio. Jedi Ollie joined us, and he's going to give us, Stephen, one big, bold prediction on the Celtics season.
Jedi Ollie.
My Jedi Ollie bold predictions. Let me get into the zone, Steve. Channel the Force. Rajon Rondo has 15 or less games left as a Boston Celtic.
I think he plays more than that. I think he plays more than 15 games. I think he's going to be gone around about the All-Star break. I think he's still around then, unless some team comes in with a ridiculous offer that's too good for Danny Ainge to turn down.
Here's my thinking then. Rajon Rondo, there's going to be some discussions as he's about to come back. Okay, so there's going to be some early discussions. There's probably been a couple right now, saying when Rondo's healthy, would you take this? And they're obviously going to be such low offers, and they aren't dealing whilst he's injured anyway. But he comes back, he shows a bit of something 5-6 games in, the phone continues to ring. I'm looking at a team right now like Toronto, because Toronto cannot attract free agents because you have to pay tax twice to Queen Elizabeth and to the US. So they have to basically trade in or buy in for contracts that already exist in the NBA. That means that maybe you can package Wallace in that deal as well, that is all the Celtics, I think, want out of that Rondo deal, more than anything, as well as bringing a couple of assets back, is to book Gerald Wallace in any deal for Rondo.
Yeah, they're going to have to. That's the pairing they're potentially going to have to make. But as I said, I don't think they're going to be able to shift both from like we said before. But if you're looking at maybe sending Rondo to the Raptors, and who on earth do you bring back?
I don't really care. If they send us a future pick again, and then whatever they have in expiring to make up the difference in the cap, then I don't really mind, as long as that Wallace deal's gone. And if we're trying to tank, we just go all out and we just suck this thing up. I love Bill Simmons' comparison to this Celtic season. If you're going to detonate a house and obliterate it, you do not leave a nice looking living room left. You just go the whole hog, you take the whole thing down. And they've left themselves a nice living room with Rajon Rondo. And I understand the thought process. New coach, he's younger than the other guys, and they can get on the same page. It starts with the point guard as the coach on the floor. But if you are going the tanking route, just go all out. Try and get the number 1 pick. Don't settle for the 4th, 5th pick in the draft.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we've talked about Boston going potentially all out to try and get that number 1 pick, and part of that is potentially getting Rondo off the team as quickly as possible, because anytime he's out there, he then raises the what that team can do, and if Rondo's out there for any significant amount of time, then I would never have ranked him 28th in the league.
Okay then, it's time for, again, my favourite section of these shows we're doing, these NBA preview shows. Stephen Edwards' 24-second shot clock prediction segment. You have 24 seconds on the clock, Stephen, from the moment you start talking, and I have 1 timeout to shut you up at any point, and we haven't had one yet. I've got a feeling when you talk about the C's that potentially Mr. Brad Stevens, the coach, may call a timeout.
Right, 2013-2014 Boston Celtics. So many key losses. The life and soul has been taken out of this team with the loss of Garnett, Pierce and Doc Rivers. The heyday of the Celtics is over, but only over for one season, Celtics fans. You are tanking for that number 1 pick in the draft. You put in what looks like a very good coach in Brad Stevens. Now, it's down to you now when you get rid of Rondo. Rondo has to go as quickly as possible, but he may be around to your stop.
The shot clock goes. I was so close to calling a timeout when I can't remember the exact phrase, but it was like the age of the Celtics is over, so along those lines. But then when you said for 1 season, Brad Stevens let you off.
See, I drew you in.
I knew what you were doing. You were trying to tempt me into going full-scale argumentative, just freaking out on the show. I'm realistic about the Celtics. That's why I used the word hopeful at the top of the show.
See, I mean, I haven't said anything bad against your Celtics. I've said it how it is.
Destination City.
Let's take a flight then. Destination City. I love this segment. I love the music. Oh yeah, that's right. We party. We party up in Boston, in B-Town. It's what we do, Stephen Edwards. Now, you've been there once on a day trip. You know that's from where I hail with my American roots. What do you reckon of Boston? Where do you rank it out of 10 for travelling to Boston?
Boston's a beautiful city from what I saw of it in one day. It's definitely a city I'd love to go back to again. You cannot get sometimes more passionate than Celtics fans. I said it before, they are some of the most intelligent basketball fans that there are, and it's a franchise steeped in history. Why would you not want to go and watch a basketball game in Boston? These are the Boston Celtics. They're about to enter a new age once this season is over, and see some exciting times back at the Fleet Centre. So, yeah, no, go there.
For me, Boston is easily a 10 out of 10. Now, that isn't just homerism. It is the greatest American city on planet Earth. I have the Red Sox there. I have the Patriots in Patriot season. I, of course, have the Celtics to go to night in, night out if I want to. I get to go to a place called Peter Club's Club. A guy who bought 2 clubs in the name of his nightclub. I love that place. My favourite place in Boston. I can drink Sam Adams as much as I want, as much as Stephen decries it. Boston is a 10 out of 10, and I'm coming B-Town. I will be back in my home very soon.
Yes, you will go there. And of course, yes, I still call it the Fleet Centre. It's never going to be the TD Garden for me. So listeners will have to give me a pass on that, because I do kind of hold on to history, and I think that's what the Celtics are going to be holding on to just for 1 year whilst things are not too great on the court. But there is optimistic times ahead. Definitely going to get a high draft pick. I think you do have to try and get the number 1 pick overall, and there'll be some interesting things about how they decide to package Rondo up and what they try and bring in to make that move in the draft. And I think it's not even about what they do during the season. I think Boston have also quite likely, when it comes to draft day, to do some interesting things as well. Ainge has shown before that he's willing to make the offers that maybe some other GMs are not willing to make. He takes a chance. He takes good chances. He doesn't take risks. He takes educated risks, and they certainly work out for him when all's said and done.
Agreed. I trust in Danny. I trust in Brad, and this Celtics thing is rolling on. We didn't get a out of 10 prediction though from you, or not prediction, but a statement for Boston.
I would rank Boston always around about 8 out of 10. I think it's as I said, it's a beautiful city. It's one of those places you must go and watch a basketball game, storied for various reasons across various sports. Recommended to any of our listeners who haven't been there. Definitely go.
I'd say some of you may have to travel with me, because Boston, they take pride in running the English out of America. That is what they're known for. So I don't know if you want to travel just on your lonesome. Maybe come with Ollie and Ollie when we hit the First Take UK tour.
Yeah, the First Take UK tour that we're trying to plan. We just need some sponsorship backing.
So the ludicrous Boston Celtics show comes to an end, ranked at 28, which is embarrassing for Steven. Again, direct any 8 about teams and the rankings on this Power Rankings podcast to @DRoseUK36 or tweet us @UK First Take. This has been a good one. Number 27 coming up very soon, and some of these teams are going to get quite interesting.
Yeah, there are some debatable points to be made, certainly as we get into the teams that could potentially make the playoffs. But at the moment, we're just going through the dregs at the bottom.
Thanks for downloading Ollie and Steven's 2013-14 NBA preview show. Please continue to check out the First Take UK podcast.